and welcome back to My House Book Club, where we talk about a different book or a series and hopefully get encouraged to keep on reading. My name is Maya, and my mission is to fill in the gaps in my reading, meaning I'll mostly be reading classics but also some lesser known books, and I hope you will take part in the conversation. Today, let's talk about Great Expectations and how its characters might have some experiences in common and how it has affected them. As usual, I will first introduce the book and the reading experience without spoilers, and then we will go into more detail and I will give a warning. Also, I will be looking at my notes from time to time, so feel free to just listen. Great Expectations was written by an English novelist called Charles Dickens and was published in book form in 1861. Now, it is one of his most known works, and the story starts by introducing a young boy called Pip, who is raised by his strict sister and her gentle husband. As we read on, Pip meets people that make him ashamed of being from a lower class and makes him dream of a better life. By a twist of fate, he gets hope to be able to climb higher on the social ladder. This book is really loved, and it is one of the first books I heard from Dickens, so I was expecting to fall in love with it. I really like the way Dickens describes his characters, and especially how Pip is not maybe a typical main character, in the sense that for some he's not super likable, or he's not the type of person we get attached to very easily. For sure he's flawed and he has a learning curve. But I think that was what made his character multi-dimensional. Did I love this book though? I was disappointed in myself that I didn't. Now, if you haven't read this book, don't skip it just because I didn't absolutely love it. For me, it was the plot that didn't feel extremely exciting, but I have to mention though that I did enjoy the writing and the characters, and this might be exactly the kind of book you will love. So yeah, maybe I was just too impatient or it just didn't click. Although usually I do love coming of age stories. I want to mention a YouTuber called Tristan and the Classics. I watched his review on this book. It's actually a non-spoiler one, so I recommend you watch it. And I really love his channel, and he's helped me learn a lot about reading and stuff like that. He made me realize why this is a classic book, and also in general why classic literature matters. Classic literature makes us dig deeper and think about what we have read, and we find connection to humanity, and they make us understand and feel. The stories have weight and meaning in our lives, whether it was our favorite or not, and I actually found myself liking the book more after analyzing it. Going back to characters, I think they were the ones that made this story meaningful. Each of them had endured or experienced something that affected how they lived their lives, how they had certain values and treated others. It was interesting to me how some had, in a way, similar experiences or were going through maybe something similar, but the way it affected them was different. A few things were predictable with this book, not specifics, but more like the direction, but that seemed to be so on purpose. I personally think this book wasn't too long, but if you find yourself not too interested in it, I recommend you read it while thinking about what the title could mean, or concentrate on the writing style or the slight details that reveal more about the characters. Okay, let's go into detail. The first time in this book, when we hear the words Great Expectations, we immediately get a gut feeling that this will not turn out the way Pip initially thinks it will. We can tell this because his changed attitude hints towards it. So let's start by talking about that change. In the beginning, we know that Young Pip lives kind of a sad life. His parents are dead, he's mistreated at home by his sister, and his only light in life is Joe Gargery, I hope I'm saying it right, who is his sister's husband, who tries to protect him as much as he can. Now, in addition to all of this, he has a traumatic experience at the cemetery. An escaped prisoner threatens to kill him unless Pip secretly brings him food and a file to cut his chains. I would have expected any child that would be confronted like that to, of course, be absolutely terrified and to only have bad feelings towards this prisoner. Instead, the book tells us that in addition to being scared, Pip feels empathy towards him. His hunger, coldness, and loneliness. So I believe that Pip originally had a heart of an empath despite some flaws, and I think a lot of the credit goes to Joe, which we will go into more later. After a while, Pip meets the odd and rich Miss Havisham and her adopted daughter Estella, who are both of a higher class in society, which shows. This makes him feel ashamed of where he is from and of sweet Joe. It seems, though, that the tipping point of Pip's change is when he receives the news that he will receive a large fortune. His dreams of being richer and more respected was coming true. This is when his empathy is twisted. Instead of feeling empathy towards another person as equal to equal, now he feels empathy for others as from higher me to the lower you. In Dickens's Christmas Carol, we see the same kind of idea of the curse of money. So, how money can really change people. But how could Pip forget his love towards Joe so easily? This is the question I was thinking about. In chapter 6, before Pip learns about the fortune he is going to receive, he tells us, "But I loved Joe, perhaps for no better reason in those early days than because the dear fellow let me love him." I think once Pip got rich, he suddenly had other people who let him love them. And oh, he could love them from a higher place for the first time in his life, so he forgot the importance of Joe. Talking about Joe, it was pretty clear to me that a big reason why he married Pip's sister, who seems like a complete opposite of him, is because of Joe's empathy towards the parentless Pip. It would also explain why Joe would marry someone so harsh and abusive when he himself had an abusive father, and because of that, his mother had to go through great hardship and injustice, as he tells himself. In my opinion, Dickens describes injustice children feel perfectly, and I will read it. Although this is specifically talking about Pip, I have no doubt that Joe had felt the same way as a child. "My sister's bringing up had made me sensitive. In the little world in which children have their existence, whosoever brings them up, there is nothing so finely perceived and so finely felt as injustice. It may be only small injustice that the child can be exposed to, but the child is small, and its world is small, and its rocking horse stands as many hands high according to scale as a big-boned Irish hunter. Within myself I had sustained from my babyhood a perpetual conflict with injustice. I had known from the time when I could speak that my sister in her capricious and violent coercion was unjust to me." Yeah, I might have mispronounced some words, but you get the point. So in Pip's case, this injustice made him sensitive to anyone who would offend him, and is a big factor in why he changed. But in Joe's case, the pain of injustice had turned into empathy towards Pip. Isn't it interesting how similar experiences can come out in different ways? I also want to talk about why Joe's character is so lovable. Funnily enough, he reminded me of Beth from Little Women by L.M. Alcott. They are the silent characters who probably never get to shine in public, but they shine in the hearts of people whose lives they have touched. And these people are given credit not necessarily for their skills, but in the way that they make others feel. Joe is the kind of person who, just by knowing him, makes it all worthwhile. So the credit to Pip's empath heart, in my opinion, goes to Joe. Now, to Pip's love towards Estella. It is pretty much textbook obsession. She makes him miserable, but he cannot stop loving her, and it's just pure torture. This was one of Miss Havisham's goals, raising the beautiful Estella to revenge men because of the injustice she herself had to endure when left and betrayed on her wedding day. Pip was the perfect victim for this, but it is clear that also Estella is the victim of Miss Havisham. How must it feel to be raised to be used, not raised to be loved? She was intentionally or unintentionally raised to not feel. I really felt for Estella, and knowing her upbringing gives us a deeper understanding of why her heart was like a rock. She lived a life of injustice and lives a life of no expectations. Thus, she ends up marrying a person she does not care for. So in a way, Miss Havisham also had a weird obsession over Estella, not out of parental love, but her desire to revenge men through her. And what is interesting but quite sad is that Miss Havisham doesn't feel regret but self-pity when Estella tells her that she's the reason Estella is the way she is. Miss Havisham only regrets what she has done when she sees Pip's pain after making him fall in love with the cold Estella. That is when Miss Havisham sees the product she has made and sees her own pain reflected in Pip's pain, and that makes her deeply regretful. In my opinion, this was one of the most interesting things in this book, how they all go through injustice, suffering and pain, and how it makes them use it differently. But all of them have some kind of a comeback. Joe finally gets his happy ending by marrying sweet Biddy, Miss Havisham by finding regret, Estella by getting her heart back, although this takes until the end, and Pip by getting his original empathy back through meeting Magwitch, his benefactor. So I would say one reason why I didn't fall in love with this book is because I had somehow wrong expectations, wink wink, about what the story would be like, and I think it was just a bit gloomier and less great adventure like I thought it would be, but that is completely fine, and I do look forward to reading more books from Dickens. I also know there are many other characters and scenes and whatnot that I have not mentioned, but please let me know in the comments if some of them were the ones that made this story impactful one for you. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed. Please let me know what you thought. I would love to have a conversation about this book with you. And also, I am always looking to grow in my reading and my understanding. The next book I am going to read is Thief Lord by Cornelia Funke. I read it like almost 15 years ago and I loved it. It was one of my favorite books, but I have forgotten a lot, so I hope I still love it, and yeah, maybe I will gain a new perspective. Anyway, I hope you will read it with me. So, thank you again, and till the next adventure. Bye bye! Man, it is warm. 1, 2, 3. Oops. No. Okay. Empathy. Okay, I did that wrong. Man, it's hard to talk English.